Life always begins in whispers. Not in thunder or shouts, but in patterns so small, so quiet, that the world cannot hear them without leaning close. And here, in the darkness of your imagination, you lean in. You find yourself gazing at a spiral, two threads entwined, shimmering as though lit by starlight. It is DNA, the molecule of life, and tonight it is less a scientific structure than a lullaby written into the fabric of every cell. You drift toward it as though floating in a dream. The double helix turns slowly, patiently, with the rhythm of something ancient and unhurried. Each step of the spiral feels like a note in a song, repeating and repeating, yet never quite the same. Its pattern is both infinite and finite, bounded by four simple letters, adenine, thymine, cytosine, guanine. You watch them pair off with unwavering devotion, A with T, C with G, like dancers who always find one another in the quiet glow of the ballroom. You let your attention sink into this repeating music. How strange, you think, that something so small contains the instructions for everything that breathes, moves, and grows. In this soft unfolding, you feel the poetry hidden within the precision. The spiral does not rush, it does not demand. It simply turns, slow as a lullaby, letting you follow each curve as though tracing the gentle thread of a bedtime story. Imagine, now, that you are walking along its ladder. Each rung beneath your feet is a pair of letters, stepping stones of life. A, T, C, G, the alphabet of existence. Unlike human language, it does not need thousands of characters to express meaning. These four, repeated in endless combinations, carry all the instructions for the color of a leaf, the span of a wing, the warmth of your own beating heart. You walk, and with each step you sense stories blooming from the code beneath you. The slow turning of a sunflower toward the sun, the whisper of blood moving through capillaries, the wonder of sight itself as light becomes vision. The more you walk, the more the spiral feels alive. It is not rigid, not mechanical. It is more like music, written in chords rather than paragraphs. You hear it now, soft pulses rising and falling like the strings of a harp. The letters are not just instructions, they are rhythm and harmony. In every cell of your body, billions of copies of this song are humming at once, like a cosmic choir singing you quietly into being. You pause, feeling that choir within you. Every hair, every heartbeat, every breath is the result of a sequence that began long before you. You are not separate from this spiral, you are its unfolding, its continuation. The thought is not overwhelming but calming, like being part of a river. You are carried by something vast, yet made of details so small that even light must bend low to see them. Now you imagine DNA at work. It unwinds just slightly, as though opening a page. Enzymes, tiny caretakers, step in gently, reading its script. They copy, they repair, they guide, like scribes tending to a sacred text. From this copying comes RNA, the messenger, carrying instructions outward, to where proteins are built. Each protein folds into a shape, a tool, a piece of the body's machinery. And all of it, every single gesture, arises from those four letters curled in silence. You see the elegance of it now. DNA is not just storage, it is memory. It remembers the oceans where life began. It remembers the first fish that grew fins, the first bird that spread wings, the first mammal that learned to care for its young. And now it remembers you, because in every one of your cells lies a library stretching back billions of years. You are not just you are the history of life, carried in spirals. The spiral turns again, and you wonder at its resilience. It can endure for thousands, even millions, of years if preserved. And yet, it is fragile enough that sunlight can change it, a single mutation shifting the story. Sometimes these changes are harmful, but often they are the reason for diversity, for evolution. The mistakes of DNA are also its creativity, the way the song learns new verses. You breathe into that thought, how imperfection becomes the soil for growth. Floating through this helix, you notice the scale of it. DNA is smaller than sight, smaller than imagination almost. And yet, if all the DNA in your body were stretched end to end, it could reach to the sun and back, many times over. You feel the immensity of something hidden, folded away so carefully within your cells. The paradox is soothing. The largest stories are written in the smallest letters. Your mind drifts to the idea of inheritance. You carry DNA from your parents, and they from theirs, stretching backward in time to ancestors you will never meet. Each one left you a fragment of code, a piece of their song. And so, without knowing, you hum with their music. It is not a burden, but a connection, a reminder that you are woven into a lineage, a tapestry that stretches across centuries. You are never alone, because even your cells carry echoes of others. You close your eyes and imagine the spiral not as a molecule, but as a tree. Its trunk is the double helix, its branches the many variations that have grown from it over eons. Leaves unfurl as species, flowers bloom as moments of discovery, and the fruit it bears is life itself. You sit beneath this tree, feeling its roots reach back into oceans, its branches stretching toward galaxies of possibility. The tree hums with DNA, and its lullaby surrounds you. Now the spiral begins to dim, not vanishing but receding, like a song moving to the edge of hearing. You are left with the feeling of being composed, written gently by something both mathematical and musical. You are words and melody, physics and poetry, history and possibility. And in the quiet, you realize that every cell is not just a container, but a storybook. The chapter does not end in certainty, for DNA itself is never finished. It keeps copying, mutating, evolving. Its spirals twist onward into futures unknown. And you, drifting in its song, feel the question rising like dawn. If this spiral is the music of life, then what greater symphony waits to be played in the unfolding of stars, of time, of the universe itself? You close your eyes and drift inward, into the hidden library within every living cell. It is not made of stone or wood, but of molecules that stretch like threads of memory. Inside, the story of life rests in coiled spirals, folded and tucked away, waiting for you to listen. The genetic code lies before you, not as something silent or cold, but as an ancient script. Each letter, each symbol, glows faintly, like the firelight of a long-remembered cave painting. They shimmer in sequences of 4, yet their combinations are infinite, their patterns more enduring than any human tongue. You feel the gravity of these letters. They are not just shapes. They are instructions, whispers, promises carried across time. 3 letters gather, holding hands. Together they form a word, a codon. Simple, unassuming, yet within it lies command and consequence. Each codon tells the cell which building block to choose, which piece of the grand puzzle to place. Slowly, gently, you watch them arrange themselves, one after another, weaving sentences that will become muscle, skin, thought, or breath. The rhythm is unhurried. Life is not in haste here. You feel the cadence, like a lullaby sung in triplets, each codon striking a soft note. The melody does not end but circles endlessly, returning and flowing onward, writing without pause. It is a language where nothing shouts, nothing rushes. Instead, each sound carries weight because it has been spoken for billions of years. The letters themselves, A, T, C, G, drift in your mind like stars in a quiet night sky. You see them not as harsh scientific symbols, but as constellations. A for adenine, T for thymine, C for cytosine, G for guanine. They lean toward each other in pairs, like lifelong companions who never part, A with T, C with G. They cling tightly, ensuring the script holds steady, ensuring that the story does not fray or unravel. You imagine yourself tracing your finger along this double helix, as though following a winding path through a spiral staircase of light. The more you walk, the more you realize how endless it is, miles upon miles of steps within a single cell. If you could stretch the DNA in your body end to end, it would reach the moon and back many times. Yet it is all here, folded neatly, humming silently, like a book you carry but never fully read. Every page of this molecular manuscript is filled with meaning. Yet the beauty lies not only in the words themselves, but in their order. Like poetry, the placement matters. A single letter changed, misplaced, forgotten, can shift the entire tone of the song. Life is both fragile and resilient in this way. One misplaced codon may cause silence, while another may open an entirely new stanza of being. You pause and let this sink in. The thought is humbling. Your body is not separate from this script, it is born of it. Your heartbeat, your voice, your memories, your quiet breath in this moment, all of them are woven by this patient instruction manual. You are not reading it from the outside. You are its living continuation, a chapter written in flesh and thought. The more you listen, the more you notice the elegance of translation. Codons speak not directly in proteins, but in steps. First, they are transcribed into a softer form of script, RNA, a messenger carrying the words like a scroll through the halls of the cell. Then another set of players arrives, ribosomes, the readers of this text. They glide along the scroll, pausing at each codon, pulling in the right building blocks as though beads on a string. Slowly, the string curls, folds, and transforms into a working protein, an instrument ready to play its role in the orchestra of life. You imagine this orchestra inside you. Thousands of ribosomes humming together, thousands of proteins taking shape, thousands of stories unfolding every moment, quietly, without you ever noticing. There is no clamor, no discord. Only harmony, only the gentle hum of life keeping its rhythm. Even as you rest, this script is awake. Even as you close your eyes, it continues writing. There is no pause between generations, no silence between one life and the next. The script passes on, unchanged yet ever adapting, from parent to child, from ancient single-celled ancestors to the vast bloom of beings alive today. You picture the continuity, the unbroken thread running through time. It stretches backward billions of years, to the first spark of replication, the first letters forming in the warm tide of the Earth's young oceans. From that moment to this, the code has never been fully lost. It has bent, mutated, adjusted, but it has not ceased. You are the living proof of that persistence. And forward it will continue, beyond you, beyond now, whispering into generations that have not yet arrived. The letters will still fall into place, the codons will still speak their three-letter words, and life will still follow the song. You find comfort in this. Even as stars burn out and mountains crumble, the genetic code endures like a flame carefully passed hand to hand. You realize then that the script is more than a story of survival. It is also a story of creativity. Within its folds lie the possibilities of endless variation, the bright feathers of a bird, the bioluminescence of a jellyfish, the scent of a rose. The code is both strict and generous. It confines itself to 4 letters and 3-letter words, yet from that simplicity springs the immeasurable diversity of the living world. From its rules, beauty emerges. You breathe in slowly, letting that thought settle. Life is not random chaos, nor rigid order, but a balance between the two, a gentle conversation between structure and possibility. You are part of that balance, both written and writer, carrying the code and giving it new expression. As you sink deeper into this reflection, you feel the boundaries of your body soften. The script does not end at your skin. It connects you to every other creature that has ever lived. The same letters spell out the forms of whales, trees, and even the quiet moss that grows along stones. You are kin to them, not metaphorically, but literally. The code binds you in a single family, vast and unbroken. This kinship soothes you. The letters do not belong to you alone. They belong to the earth, to life itself, and to time. You are a page, written gently, placed within an endless book. And as you turn the last pages of this chapter in your mind, you notice how the letters begin to blur into something wider. The story of the genetic code is not only about inheritance, but about the flow of energy and change that moves through all systems. Just as letters shift and pair, so too does heat, so too does entropy. You begin to sense that behind the genetic song lies another story, one of disorder and balance, of warmth and its wandering path. You feel the transition stirring, as if the letters are dissolving into waves of heat, carrying you toward the next mystery. You rest within the quiet chambers of the cell, where silence hums like a low and endless song. Around you, the double helix of DNA keeps its secrets, locked away in the protective shelter of the nucleus. The spiral waits with patience that spans ages, its letters etched into molecular stone. Yet permanence alone is not enough. Life requires not only memory but also motion, not only script but also performance. And so, from the stillness, something stirs. The story shifts as DNA loosens its careful coils. A fragment of its code begins to unspool, as though a single thread is chosen from a vast tapestry. The thread is copied, transcribed, transformed into a more fragile shape, RNA. Unlike the enduring monument of DNA, RNA is a river of breath, passing swiftly, carrying with it the essence of instruction. You feel its presence not as solidity but as movement, as if you are watching ink dissolve into water, spreading its meaning outward before fading. RNA is a messenger, and like all messengers, it must be fleeting. Imagine a parchment written in delicate chalk, meant not to last, but to arrive in time. Its purpose is not eternity but immediacy. And so, RNA rises within the nucleus, carrying the code outward, toward the waiting machinery of life. You follow it closely, gliding alongside its slender backbone, tracing the pattern of its single-stranded form. It is not the steady ladder of DNA but a solitary ribbon, curling upon itself in delicate folds. Where DNA is a fortress, RNA is a songbird, light, swift, and easily undone. Its fragility is its gift, because life must be able to change, to adapt, to speak in whispers that can vanish and be rewritten. The cell is alive with quiet anticipation. Ribosomes, tiny factories of flesh and possibility, wait patiently in the cytoplasm, like open hands. They do not know the future until RNA arrives. They cannot build until the messenger speaks. RNA carries to them the sacred instructions, the the scroll unrolled across the stage of the cell. One by one, the letters become notes, the notes become chords, and proteins begin to take shape, folding, bending, breathing into being. Proteins are the workers of life, the dancers, the builders, the healers. Yet they do not know themselves without the messenger. In this way, RNA is both humble and essential. It does not last long, and yet without it, the grand orchestra of life would fall silent. You can feel the urgency in its transience, the knowledge that this fragile strand must complete its journey before it dissolves back into nothingness. Pause now, and imagine the cell as a vast library. DNA is the archive, the shelves stacked with books bound in unbreakable covers. But the archive is too precious to move, too weighty to carry into the bustle of the world. So instead, the messenger is sent out, a single page, copied carefully, carried in soft hands, and delivered where it is needed most. The page may crumble after being read, but its words are already alive, shaping the reality of the cell. RNA is not one messenger, but many. Each carries a different phrase, a different chapter, a different instruction. Some leave the nucleus to create enzymes that digest sugars. Some travel outward to form fibers of muscle. Some bring the plans for pigments, for receptors, for threads of silk or strands of keratin. Each one is fleeting, and yet together they weave the endless tapestry of life's expression. And here, within this river of transience, lies a paradox. It is in impermanence that life finds its power. The RNA strands dissolve swiftly, erased by enzymes once their tasks are complete. But this ephemerality allows new instructions to arise, allows the song to shift, allows the organism to respond to the world. Imagine if every word spoken were permanent, echoing forever. The beauty of speech lies in its vanishing. So too with RNA, the messenger speaks, and then it disappears, leaving only the change it inspired. You drift alongside one strand as it exits the nucleus through the guarded gateway of the nuclear pore. The passage is narrow, selective, like a gatekeeper allowing only trusted messengers to pass. Beyond lies the open expanse of cytoplasm, where ribosomes wait like ships at anchor. The RNA finds its partner, and together they set sail into the process of translation, code transformed into flesh, language becoming body. Translation is a word of poetry here. Letters become molecules, words become life. It is a transformation as wondrous as any story turned into song. You watch as amino acids, small and simple, are strung together into chains. Each chain folds upon itself like origami, taking on a shape of exquisite precision. Out of this folding, function is born. Out of this rhythm, life continues. And all the while, the RNA grows fainter, its role nearly complete. When its message has been read, when the proteins are born, it will be taken apart, its pieces recycled into new strands, new possibilities. Like the messenger who delivers a letter and then disappears into the crowd, it leaves behind no monument, only the rippling consequences of its arrival. This fragility holds a quiet lesson. Permanence is not always strength. Sometimes, the most powerful forces in life are those that pass through us quickly, changing us before fading away. The smile of a stranger, the shimmer of sunlight on water, the fleeting thought that sparks a new idea, all are like RNA, brief but transformative. You linger with this thought as the cytoplasm hums around you. Each strand of RNA is a thread in a living loom, weaving a fabric that is constantly dissolving and reforming. You feel the beauty of this rhythm, appearance, expression, disappearance. A cycle that echoes not only in molecules but in days and seasons, in lives and histories. The strand beside you begins to unravel, its work complete. Enzymes dismantle it gently, as though unthreading a delicate embroidery. Its pieces drift back into the cellular sea, ready to be reused, reborn. What was once a messenger will soon be the raw material for another. In this recycling, nothing is lost. Instead, everything is renewed. The cell sighs in contentment, for the message has been heard. The ribosome has built. The protein has folded. Life has taken one more step forward. And now, new strands will rise, new messengers will carry their words into the waiting silence. You close your eyes, resting in the gentle flow of this process, sensing the balance of fragility and purpose. RNA may not last long, but in its brief journey, it bridges the distance between permanence and expression, between memory and action. It is the moment between thought and word, between intention and deed. And as you drift, you sense the next question forming in the quiet air. If RNA is the messenger, what becomes of the message once it is delivered? What shape does the fleeting instruction take as it folds itself into the lasting architecture of life? You close your eyes and drift inward, away from the world of busy streets and restless thoughts, into the quiet interior of life itself. The scene that greets you is not made of cities or skies, but of a microscopic landscape, a living world that hums without sound, vibrant yet invisible. Here, within the tender walls of a cell, architecture takes on a softness. Shapes blur, borders shimmer, and every structure seems alive, not as rigid geometry, but as something breathing, purposeful, and endlessly creative. At the heart of this architecture sit the ribosomes, small, round, and humble, yet astonishingly patient. They are artisans at work, hidden deep within the cytoplasm, waiting by the flowing currents of molecules like boats on a still river. To you, they appear as craftspeople gathered around silent looms, hands moving with a rhythm older than memory, weaving strands into the very fabric of existence. The ribosome's craft begins with a scroll. Not parchment or paper, but a thread of RNA, unrolled and legible in its strange alphabet of nucleotides. The messenger RNA carries instructions, like a whispered poem passed down from the nucleus, itself transcribed from the deep library of DNA. You imagine this process as a quiet delivery, the nucleus sending out delicate slips of information, folded like origami messages, carried by invisible couriers to the ribosome's waiting hands. And there, the artisans read. They do not read with eyes, but through form, through binding and release, through chemistry so precise that it feels almost like language. Each codon, each set of 3 bases, is a word. Each word calls forth an amino acid, one small bead in a long and purposeful chain. The ribosome listens carefully, translating letter by letter, never rushing, never hesitating. You picture the scene as a loom stretched wide. The RNA is the pattern, and the amino acids are threads waiting in bowls of color, red, gold, blue, green. The ribosome picks them up one by one, stringing them together, each addition a small decision, each bond a knot tied with care. Slowly, a chain lengthens, folding upon itself, curling into shapes predetermined yet flexible, like fabric forming from nothing. This is the beginning of a protein. And proteins are the true artisans of the cell, builders, messengers, catalysts, defenders. They are the hands of life itself. Without them, there would be no muscle to move, no enzymes to quicken reactions, no structures to support, no signals to send. The ribosome's weaving is, in truth, the beginning of form and function, the foundation of being alive. As you linger in this vision, you notice how calm it feels. There is no hurry in the ribosome's work. The cell does not rush its artisans. Instead, time stretches wide. Reactions occur in their own moments, guided by gradients, by chance meetings, by bonds forming and breaking. You can almost hear the soft rhythm: click, bind, release, click, bind, release. The ribosome works steadily, the way a skilled weaver might pass shuttle through warp, again and again, until a tapestry takes shape. You imagine leaning closer. What would it be like to stand at the loom, to watch a ribosome in motion? At its heart, it is made of RNA itself, ribosomal RNA, sculpted into shape, partnered with proteins that stabilize its folds. It is a machine made partly of the very substance it reads, like a scribe that is also parchment, a loom that is also thread. There is something poetic in this mirroring, a symmetry that feels intentional, though it arises from chemistry alone. The ribosome accepts a tRNA, a transfer RNA carrying its cargo. Each tRNA is shaped like a little key, curved and precise. At one end, it bears the anticodon, ready to match the codon on the messenger RNA. At the other end, it carries the correct amino acid, tethered and waiting. The ribosome checks the fit, like a patient artisan comparing thread to pattern. If it matches, the amino acid is added to the chain. If not, the ribosome waits, discarding what doesn't belong. The process is elegant, mechanical yet fluid. You feel its rhythm in your breathing, in, out, as though your own body mirrors the cycle of binding and release. Soon the chain begins to grow longer, folding even as it is born. Proteins do not wait to be complete before shaping themselves. They begin to twist and curl mid-creation, guided by chemistry and physics, drawn toward the shapes that minimize energy and maximize stability. You see them as threads of silk, curling into motifs, coils like spirals of shells, sheets like ribbons of folded paper, loops like delicate knots. From these, greater structures emerge, entire garments of biology, perfectly tailored without a designer, yet somehow flawless. It is astonishing to think of how many proteins must be woven each moment. In the cells of your body, ribosomes number in the millions. At any given second, thousands upon thousands are at work, silently weaving, unseen, unstoppable. They labor for you without thanks, without fatigue, without awareness, yet their patience is what keeps you alive. Every blink of your eye, every beat of your heart, every breath you draw, each depends on the artisanship of ribosomes. And so, as you lie in this moment, you begin to feel their presence not just in imagination but in yourself. The hum of your existence is their hum. The strength of your body, the clarity of your thought, the warmth of your skin, all trace back to these quiet looms, these hidden weavers turning messages into matter. You wonder at the poetry of it. DNA holds the story, RNA carries the script, and ribosomes perform the play. Life is theater performed on a molecular stage, its actors unseen but indispensable. Each ribosome is both audience and performer, both reader and artisan. And what they make is not static, not final. Proteins go on to fold, to join with others, to move into membranes, to catalyze reactions. The work of the ribosome ripples outward, never ending with the chain itself but branching into countless roles. It is as though the weaver creates not just fabric but beings who themselves will weave, continuing the artistry on new levels. You begin to feel a calm kinship with them. Their patience is your patience, their steadiness your steadiness. You too are a loom, weaving experiences into memory, weaving hours into days. Your life, like theirs, is built from small, steady motions, repeated with care until something greater emerges. Here in this stillness, you sense how connected it all is. The loom of the ribosome is mirrored in the loom of the universe, stars forging elements, galaxies spinning arms, everything weaving patterns from the simplest threads of matter and time. The ribosome finishes its chain, releasing the completed protein into the cell. It pauses, then waits for the next message, the next scroll of instructions, the next opportunity to weave. The cycle does not tire. The artisans are never idle for long. And you, too, feel ready for continuation. The chapter closes softly, but the weaving of thought continues. You wonder what happens to these chains once they are born, how they fold further, how they find their place in the architecture of life. Perhaps that is where the journey will take you next, into the quiet mystery of folding, where form meets function, and patterns deepen into shape. You close your eyes, and the vast universe of your own body begins to reveal itself. The great expanse of skin and bone fades away, and what remains is the hidden ocean within. This is not the ocean of saltwater tides, but the shimmering sea of your cells, each drop of liquid alive with motion, each molecule a note in the unending song of life. And here, in this quiet ocean, a dance is taking place. At first, it begins simply, a long chain of amino acids, like beads on a necklace, floating gently in the cellular sea. Each bead is different, some shy, hiding from water, some eager, reaching outward, some charged, clinging or repelling. Together, they form a thread, a line of potential. Yet as you watch, you see that this chain is not content to remain a line. It begins to fold. The folding is not random. It is a search, a journey toward a form that has been whispered by nature for billions of years. The chain bends, twists, and coils upon itself. Some segments tuck inward, hiding in the safety of the center, while others flare outward like wings, brushing against the water that surrounds them. Slowly, the necklace becomes something else. No longer a chain, it is a sculpture. A structure. A protein. You watch it move, as though invisible fingers guide its shape. It reminds you of origami paper, thin and flat at first, yet destined to become a crane or a flower with the right folds. Except here, the folds are made not with fingers, but with forces, chemical attractions, subtle energies, the push and pull of water and air. Nature is the artist, and the protein is its masterpiece. The dance is delicate. If the chain folds just right, it creates strength, like the fibers of your muscles pulling together when you reach for something or take a breath. If it twists differently, it becomes an enzyme, a helper, a tiny machine that makes the chemistry of life possible. These shapes matter. Each one is a tool, a worker, a dancer in its own rhythm. And as you float here in the stillness, you realize, without this dance of folding, there would be no heartbeat, no memory, no breath. Imagine, for a moment, that you are small enough to walk across the surface of this folding chain. You would see valleys where the chain tucks in, ridges where it stretches outward. You would pass through tunnels and arches, climbing along walls of carbon and nitrogen. To you, this would not look like chemistry, but like landscape, a mountain range forming in an instant. And yet every curve, every fold, has meaning. Together, they build the shape that allows the protein to work. Some proteins become strong ropes, fibrous and tough, weaving together to give skin its strength or to build the silk of a spider's web. Others become globes, compact and precise, their shapes designed to hold a single molecule of oxygen and carry it through blood. Others, still, become gates, resting in the membranes of cells, opening and closing to let ions pass, like doors that control the flow of energy. And you see how much of your own being depends on these forms, these folds. Without them, thought itself would dissolve. The dance, though, is not always perfect. Sometimes the chain misfolds. A twist goes the wrong way, or a section tangles upon itself. These misfolded shapes may clump together, forming knots instead of elegant origami. And these knots can cause trouble, diseases that stem from shapes gone astray. Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, illnesses tied to the missteps of folding. Yet even in these mistakes, there is a kind of story, a reminder that life's dance is delicate, always balancing between order and chaos. But here, in your meditative journey, you linger not on the illness but on the wonder. For most of the time, in countless trillions of attempts, the folds find their way. Proteins assemble into the machinery of life, and you, breathing, thinking, dreaming, are the living result of their accuracy. Each moment of thought you have is supported by millions of proteins folding and working in perfect synchrony. The process seems guided, though it is not. There is no conscious hand arranging these folds. Instead, it is physics, chemistry, the rules of attraction and repulsion, the simple laws of energy-seeking balance. The chain folds because it must, because in the search for stability, there is one path most favored. And this path, taken again and again across the span of existence, has become the foundation of life. You let the rhythm of it wash over you. The folding is like waves on a shore, repeating, forming patterns, dissolving into new ones. Proteins fold, perform their work, and eventually fade, replaced by new chains, new dances. Life is not still, it is an unending ballet of forms appearing, working, and disappearing. And you, resting now in the quiet of this moment, are the stage upon which it all takes place. Think of the proteins in your muscles, folding and unfolding, powering your steps when you walk across a room. Think of the proteins in your brain, shaping the synapses that fire as you recall a memory or imagine tomorrow. Think of the proteins in your blood, carrying oxygen to every cell, allowing each one to breathe. All of it depends on folding, on the shapes that arise from simple chains. The image sharpens, amino acids are letters, proteins are words, and folding is grammar. Without grammar, words cannot make sense. With it, they form sentences, poetry, meaning. You realize that your body is not just matter, but language. Each fold, each shape, is a phrase in the story of you. And just as you begin to sense this, the scale widens. Proteins do not work alone. They join together in complexes, whole assemblies of shapes, forming vast machines that churn and spin within your cells. Ribosomes, polymerases, ion pumps, all built of proteins folded just right, all dancing in harmony. You imagine yourself standing among them, as if in a city alive with motion, streets filled not with cars but with molecules, each moving to its purpose. It is breathtaking. And yet, it all begins with a single fold. You breathe slowly, letting the calm of this realization settle in. Life is not just vast galaxies or endless stars, but also this, the quiet folding of amino acids in a drop of water. Both the infinite and the intimate are connected. The dance of proteins echoes the dance of planets, each seeking balance, each guided by unseen rules that shape them into being. And as you rest in this thought, you sense the next question arising. Folding shapes life, but what, you wonder, shapes the folding? What directs these delicate patterns so faithfully, across time and space? The answer seems near, yet hidden, waiting just beyond the horizon of this chapter. Imagine yourself floating inside a vast library. The shelves rise endlessly, stacked not with paper books but with twisting ladders of light. Each ladder glows with a soft blue shimmer, curling upward like vines that hold the instructions for life. You reach out, and your fingertips graze the luminous surface. The texture is delicate, almost fragile, as if a whisper of wind could scatter it. And yet, this is the very material from which every living being is composed. This library is the genome, your genome, and the genome of every creature that has ever lived. It is not written in ink but in molecules, the spiraling dance of DNA. For letters repeat again and again, A, T, C, and G, paired in their eternal embrace. Together they form words, phrases, entire symphonies of instruction. The script is unimaginably long, yet remarkably precise, guiding the unfolding of bodies, the beating of hearts, the wiring of thoughts. But here is the quiet truth, the writing is not flawless. Each time life copies its sacred script, tiny slips occur. Letters switch, vanish, or appear where they were not meant to be. The universe, it seems, does not demand perfection. Instead, it trusts a rhythm of mistakes and corrections, a dance between chaos and order. You float deeper into this library of life, and notice soft figures moving among the shelves. They are the enzymes, molecular guardians. Some resemble careful scribes with magnifying glasses, leaning over the glowing strands, scanning for mismatches. When they find a misplaced letter, they pause, snip, and repair. Others slide like train cars along the spirals, proofreading the code as it is written. You watch their work and realize, these quiet custodians prevent the library from collapsing into nonsense. Without them, meaning would dissolve. The image shifts, and suddenly you see yourself as a single cell, dividing, growing, replicating. Inside you, billions of these enzymes move with tireless devotion, correcting most errors but never all. A single slip might remain, uncorrected, like a forgotten typo. Yet this too is part of the story. For sometimes, from a simple error, new possibilities arise. Think of evolution itself, a tale written not in flawless script, but in pages that accept imperfection. If every letter had been guarded too tightly, if every error had been erased, the story of life might have remained stagnant. But with just enough tolerance for mistakes, new sentences emerged. Wings unfolded where fins once were. Eyes bloomed in darkness. Thought awakened in silence. Perfection is not life's goal. Instead, it is fidelity, enough accuracy to pass meaning forward, enough looseness to invite growth. You imagine drifting back in time, billions of years ago, when the first strands of RNA, life's earlier script, floated in the primordial seas. The molecules copied themselves clumsily, riddled with mistakes. Most versions crumbled into nonsense. Yet a few, preserved just enough to continue. These survivors became the seeds of everything: forests, oceans, stars reflected in the eyes of living beings. The guardians of error correction had not yet arrived, but already the principle was clear: life does not require perfection to endure, it requires persistence. Now, you drift into your own body, down into the marrow of your bones, where blood cells are born. In each division, your DNA is copied. The guardians patrol, catching thousands of mistakes in every cycle. Yet sometimes one is missed. Perhaps it changes nothing. Perhaps it alters a cell in a small, silent way. Perhaps it leads to illness, or perhaps, across the arc of generations, it gives rise to resilience. You feel the paradox, fragility entwined with strength. There is comfort in this. For often, in your own human journey, you may feel the weight of imperfection. A word spoken wrong, a decision you wish to rewrite, a path that seemed to falter. And yet, you are still here. Your story has not dissolved. Life teaches, through its spirals, that meaning does not require flawless execution. What matters is continuation, the steady current forward. The guardians within you are not absolute, but they are enough. Just as enzymes repair what they can, you too learn to mend, to reframe, to carry on with fidelity to what matters. You do not need to erase every error, you need only to keep the story alive. Picture again the spirals of DNA, rising like twin staircases into infinity. Each rung is a memory of survival, each twist a testament to resilience. The guardians of error patrol quietly, their work unseen yet essential. You breathe in the awareness that life is not brittle, it is supple, bending, adapting, forgiving. As you float through this vision, the shelves of the great library blur into soft horizons. You hear a whisper, like pages turning. The message is simple: mistakes are not the end, they are the texture of growth. Life writes, rewrites, and continues. The guardians protect enough of the story that it can unfold, yet they leave just enough space for transformation. The rhythm of existence is not perfection but trust. Trust that the story, though imperfect, will endure. Trust that within the flow of letters, meaning carries forward. Trust that from what is broken, something unexpected can arise. And so you drift, calmer now, resting in this truth. You, too, are allowed to be imperfect. Your spirals, your sentences, your story, none must be flawless to matter. Like DNA, you are safeguarded enough to continue, to pass forward what is essential. The rest is part of the song of change. Ahead lies another horizon, another question waiting quietly. If life does not cling to perfection, then what, exactly, does it seek? What greater rhythm guides the flow of stories from one generation to the next? You exhale, letting the question remain open. You float in the pause between chapters, where the guardians rest for a moment, and the spirals hum softly with unfinished meaning. You close your eyes and imagine the quiet machinery of life, humming beneath all that you see and all that you are. Inside every living being, inside you, there is a library written in a code of 4 letters. Adenine, thymine, cytosine, guanine. They pair and bind, spiral and fold, a double helix like a staircase to infinity. Each rung of that staircase is a step into the future, a fragment of instruction whispered to the body. And yet, this library is not flawless. Sometimes a letter is miscopied. Sometimes a word slips in the great script of life. A single letter may be replaced by another, or an entire line may be lost, or repeated, or doubled. These are mutations, the tiny errors that appear when cells divide, when DNA is copied and passed forward. You might think of them as accidents, but accidents with astonishing consequences. Most change nothing at all. A quiet slip that goes unnoticed, like a drop of rain absorbed into the soil. Some changes bring harm, instructions gone wrong, machinery built imperfectly, fragility revealed. And yet, some changes open new pathways. They create possibilities the world has never seen. Picture a forest after rain. Each tree stands because generations before it carried seeds that survive storms, plagues, fires. Some trees are taller, some shorter, some with leaves that shimmer differently in the sun. Within their roots and branches, the same story is written, a history of mutations, some forgotten, some crucial. In your body, in your cells, mutations arise every day. Most are repaired, corrected by quiet guardians, enzymes that patrol the DNA, searching for errors and stitching them back into place. But not all are fixed. Some remain. Some become part of you, a small thread woven into your fabric. Think of a child born with eyes the color of rare ocean glass. That color is a mutation, not dangerous, but different. Think of a flower that blooms red where once it bloomed yellow. Or a butterfly whose wings carry an unexpected pattern. Each shift is a ripple in the grand experiment of life. Without mutations, there would be no evolution. Life would remain fixed, unchanging, bound to a single form. It is in the slips, in the errors, that diversity arises. Giraffes stretch their necks higher through tiny, accumulated shifts. Birds carved wings from forelimbs. Humans inherited the capacity for speech from mutations that altered the brain and tongue, shaping sound into story. Even the ability for you to sit here, reflecting on these thoughts, is the result of countless errors that accumulated into possibility. Fragile mistakes, carried forward across deep time, became the seeds of consciousness. And yet, it is not only beauty or advantage that emerges. Mutations can also harm. They can give rise to illness, to broken instructions that cause suffering. Fragility walks hand in hand with resilience. The very mechanism that allows adaptation also opens the door to vulnerability. This is the paradox you sit with now. The mistakes that give us strength are the same ones that bring us weakness. Consider the sickle-shaped cell, an altered form of red blood cell. It is born from a mutation, a shift in the genetic code. On one hand, it can cause pain, illness, hardship. On the other, it grants resistance to malaria, a deadly disease. What appears as misfortune in one light becomes survival in another. Life balances itself on these paradoxes, weaving hardship and protection into the same thread. You begin to see mutations not as failures, but as experiments. Nature trying, testing, exploring. Some experiments collapse quickly. Others endure, shaping species, shaping futures. The spots on a cheetah's coat, the ability of bacteria to resist antibiotics, the colors of coral reefs, all born of tiny alterations in DNA. Now imagine yourself standing at the edge of deep time. You gaze backward across billions of years. You see the very first cells, simple and fragile, floating in a primal ocean. Their codes copied and recopied, mistakes slipping in, some fatal, others fruitful. From those early slips came the branching of all life, fungi, plants, animals, you. Mutations built the tree of life, one quiet change at a time. In this moment, you realize you are not separate from this story. You carry within you a lineage of mutations, each ancestor passing forward slips that survived. The curve of your nose, the tone of your skin, the rhythm of your heartbeat, all whisper of mutations carried safely through generations. It feels almost miraculous. Out of errors, something enduring was born. Out of fragility, resilience arose. Out of imperfection, beauty unfolded. And perhaps this, too, is a lesson for you. In your own life, mistakes arrive. Words misspoken, choices made imperfectly, steps that stumble. Yet, as in the language of DNA, these mistakes are not always endings. Sometimes they are beginnings, reshaping paths you could not see before. A wrong turn that leads to a hidden clearing. A broken plan that opens space for something new. Mutations are nature's way of reminding us that perfection is not the goal. Life thrives not because it is flawless, but because it is adaptable. Because it can change. Because it welcomes the unexpected and makes use of it. As you drift deeper into thought, you imagine the library of DNA not as rigid lines of code, but as poetry. Poetry that edits itself, revises itself, erases and rewrites. Each mutation is a new stanza, some quiet, some bold, some forgotten. And you, too, are part of this poem. The rhythm slows. You feel the weight of time pressing softly around you, and you sense the gentle hum of life's experiment still unfolding. Even now, in every cell of every creature, letters slip and words shift, ensuring that tomorrow will never be exactly the same as today. You exhale, holding the paradox tenderly, fragility becoming resilience, mistakes transforming into diversity. In the quiet of this reflection, you understand that what seems broken can also be a seed, what seems flawed can also be fertile. And as you rest in this thought, you begin to wonder, if mutations are the sparks of change within the code of life, then what of the grander forces that act upon them? What shapes which changes endure, and which fade into silence? You close your eyes, and you listen. Not to the noises around you, but to something softer, hidden beneath the surface of life itself. Imagine a song, ancient yet familiar, one that has been sung across countless generations. The melody does not end when a voice falls silent, it lingers, carried forward, reshaped by new singers. That song is the code of life, written not in notes on a page but in the twisting alphabet of DNA. This code is not still, not locked away in dusty archives. It moves. It flows like a river, tracing its way through time. From your parents to you, from you to those who may come after, each step is another verse added to the song. Every strand of DNA is both memory and possibility, a script rehearsed yet never performed in quite the same way. Think of the double helix as two voices in harmony, spiraling together in a duet that never stops. Each base pair, adenine with thymine, cytosine with guanine, is like a note carefully chosen, placed within the measure of a larger composition. When your cells read this score, they do not just repeat the past, they bring it to life, giving breath to what was written long before you. You are not the beginning of the song, and you are not its end. You are one voice in a choir so vast that it stretches beyond imagination, a choir that began long before humans, long before animals with names, long before even the first fish to swim in the seas. This choir began with the simplest whispers of self-replication, molecules that learned how to remember themselves, how to copy their structure, how to endure. Those whispers became chants, and the chants became songs, layered and complex, until finally they became you. Pause for a moment and picture it, a thread, luminous and fine, stretching behind you into the deep past. Every ancestor you have ever had is tied to that thread, and every child that may one day come is tied to it as well. You are not separate from them. You are a knot in the cord, a moment in the weaving, a verse in the melody. The beauty of this song is its balance between faithfulness and change. DNA copies itself with exquisite precision, preserving the essential notes of the score. But it also allows for variation, small shifts in the melody, new interpretations of the theme. These are mutations, quiet alterations that may change nothing at all, or may change everything. Without them, life would be static, a song frozen in place. With them, life evolves, adapts, and grows ever more diverse. You might picture this as a great river with many branches. The source is far behind us, hidden in time, and from it flows a stream that splits, splits again, and again, until it becomes a wide delta of living forms. You are on one branch of that river. You carry within you not just the instructions to be yourself, but echoes of ancient waters, hints of fish, reptiles, mammals, and beyond. Every cell is a library of memory. The science of inheritance makes this poetry tangible. Within your cells, inside the quiet chambers of your nuclei, lie long strands of DNA. When a cell divides, it carefully copies its script so that each new cell can sing the same song. When life passes from parent to child, half the notes come from one, half from the other. Together they compose something familiar yet new. The code is passed on, faithful yet reshaped, just as a melody sung by a new voice acquires its own timbre and tone. Consider the way you resemble your family. Perhaps you share your mother's eyes, your father's smile, your grandmother's laughter. These are not coincidences, they are verses of the song carried forward. Yet you are not just a copy. You are a unique arrangement, a blending of melodies, a new harmony added to the symphony of your lineage. And beyond the surface, beyond hair color, height, or the curve of a cheek, lies something deeper, traits that have carried survival, resilience, and memory through the centuries. The way your immune system recognizes danger. The way your body repairs a wound. Even the rhythm of your heartbeat has been shaped by the long remembering of DNA. You are, in this sense, both individual and collective. Alone, you feel singular, separate, like a solo voice. But the truth is that you are always part of the chorus. You are connected not only to your family, but to all living beings. For at the deepest level, all life shares the same code. The very same four letters, A, T, C, and G, spell out the instructions for bacteria, for trees, for whales, for humans. The variations are endless, but the alphabet is shared. It is as if the universe composed one song, and from it, every species sings its own verse. The thought is humbling. It is also comforting. Because it means you are never alone. Your cells hum with the same language as the forest, the ocean, the sky of birds. When you breathe, the oxygen that enters your lungs is carried by hemoglobin, a protein built from instructions written in DNA. The same essential machinery is at work in creatures you may never meet, yet are forever linked to. Close your eyes again. Imagine standing in a vast hall, its ceiling lost in shadow. Around you are singers, countless, unending, stretching beyond sight. Each sings their part, some voices deep and resonant, others high and delicate. You add your note, your single voice, and it blends with the chorus. The music is richer because you are there. And when you stop, the song does not end. It carries forward, taken up by others, just as you once received it. The continuity is unbroken, but it is not unchanging. With every singer, with every generation, the song gains nuance. A tiny mutation, a new combination, a subtle difference in emphasis, these are the improvisations that keep the melody alive. Life is not a rigid recital. It is jazz, it is symphony, it is folk song carried on the wind. It is all of these at once. And yet, even as you marvel at the resilience of the code, you sense its fragility. A single misplaced note can disrupt the harmony. Sometimes mutations cause illness, sometimes the copying stumbles. The song can falter. But even in these moments, life seeks balance, finds ways to continue. The choir does not stop. It adjusts, it adapts, it moves on. There is wonder in knowing that the song within you is not yours alone. You did not compose it. You cannot claim it. You can only carry it for a while, and perhaps pass it on, whether through children, or through the influence you leave in the world, or through the echoes of your being that ripple outward. The code does not stay still. It never has. It travels, flows, remembers, and transforms. You are a vessel, a momentary singer, a bridge in the long chain of continuity. To hold this in your heart is to feel at once small and vast, one among billions, yet irreplaceably yourself. And as you rest in this thought, you wonder what verses are yet to come. How will the song shift in future voices? What melodies will be added? What harmonies will rise? You drift on that question, as though listening for the first note of a new refrain. You close your eyes, and the world becomes quieter. Breathing slows, like a tide that knows how to return again and again without effort. Inside you, the cells continue their quiet labor, writing and rewriting the same script that has guided life for billions of years. At first, you imagine this script as rigid, a book written in stone, unchanging. But as you drift into the softness of thought, another image begins to surface, a song, played not by one instrument, but by an orchestra. Every cell carries the same sheet music, the same long scroll of genetic code. Yet what you hear is not always the same tune. In one cell, a violin leads. In another, the deep voice of the cello rises. Sometimes the percussion is silent, sometimes it drives the rhythm forward. What you are sensing is epigenetics, the art of performance that lies above the code, the way the same music can be shaped, emphasized, muted, or transformed. Think of your genes as a vast library. Every book is there, every story stored. Yet you do not read them all at once. The environment chooses which shelves to pull from, which passages to highlight, which words to underline in invisible ink. And sometimes, what is underlined today will fade tomorrow, as new circumstances arrive, leaving space for different pages to be read. The invisible ink is not seen directly, yet it changes everything. It can silence one chapter of the genetic script while allowing another to sing. Methyl groups and histone proteins are its pens and brushes, wrapping and tagging the DNA, shifting the way it is read. These marks do not change the story itself. They only guide how the story is told. Pause here. Breathe in. Imagine your childhood home, the sounds, the smells, the light falling across the walls. Each moment you recall shape not only memory but also chemistry. Experiences leave traces within your cells. The laughter of your family, the stress of a long-forgotten fear, the food that nourished you, the warmth of a caregiver's touch, all of them pressed keys upon the instrument of your body, changing which songs would be played louder, which quieter. Epigenetics is memory written into matter. It is the bridge between what happens around you and what happens within you. A mother mouse that licks and grooms her pups frequently leaves them calmer, more resilient to stress. Not because their DNA is different, but because the invisible ink of care marked their genetic script, keeping certain stress response genes muted. In humans, too, early care, or its absence, can ripple across decades, shaping not only the mind but the body's long symphony. You drift further, seeing how diet, air, and emotion paint upon this hidden canvas. A famine in one generation can echo into the next, children and grandchildren born with altered risks of health and resilience. The food your grandparents ate, the hardships they faced, may whisper still in your own cells. Not destiny, but influence. Not command, but suggestion. The invisible ink is powerful, yet it can be rewritten. Picture this, a candle in a quiet room. You watch the flame dance, sometimes strong, sometimes flickering. The wax is your DNA, steady and present. The flame is epigenetics, shifting with the air currents of life. Open a window, and the flame bends. Close the door, and it steadies again. What remains is not only the wax itself, but the dance of fire upon it. In this dance lies a deep truth: you are not the passive recipient of a fixed code. You are an active participant in how that code is read. The choices you make, the rhythm of your sleep, the foods you bring to your body, the ways you soothe your mind, all are winds that stir the flame. Even silence, even stillness, can be a mark of change. There is a gentleness in knowing this. Because while genes may seem like fate, epigenetics reveals flexibility, possibility. It whispers that nothing is entirely fixed. Even scars in the code can be softened by how the song is played. You carry not only inheritance but also authorship. Now imagine standing in a forest at dawn. The mist rises from the earth, the leaves glisten, and birds begin their hesitant calls. Each tree holds the same ancient instructions for growth, yet no two trees look the same. Wind, rain, sunlight, soil, these are the epigenetic forces shaping each trunk and branch. The forest is alive not with sameness, but with variation, each tree a living story of circumstance and resilience. So too within you. Your cells are trees in a forest of flesh and thought, each one sculpted by experience. And still, beneath it all, the ancient music of life plays on, unbroken. Epigenetics does not only speak of the past. It whispers toward the future. A pregnant woman who breathes in smoke may leave chemical notes on the genes of her unborn child. A father's stress can ripple outward in unexpected ways, altering patterns that echo into the next generation. Life is never fully contained in one moment, it is a chain of influence, reaching backward and forward like stars sending light across time. You breathe again, slowly, and sense the weight and the lightness of this truth. It is humbling, knowing how environment and choice mark your biology. And yet it is freeing, knowing that change is always possible. The invisible ink can be rewritten, erased, laid over with new notes. Healing, too, has its script. There is a kind of poetry in this science. You are both the page and the writer, both the song and the listener. You inherit, but you also compose. You receive, but you also shape. Life does not lock you into a single path, it offers variations, harmonies, improvisations. Close your eyes once more and listen, not with your ears, but with your imagination. The music of your genes plays, soft and steady. And around it, like a conductor's hand, the world guides the tempo. Some passages rise in crescendo, others fade into whispers. And as you drift between waking and dreaming, you realize, the orchestra never stops. It only changes its tune, endlessly responsive, endlessly alive. You wonder now what comes next. If invisible ink can shape the songs of your body, what shapes the songs of entire species? How does this hidden writing carry not only through one life, but across the great unfolding of evolution? You sit in the hush of the evening, your breath soft and steady, your mind open as if waiting for a secret to unfold. The day has already loosened its grip, and now, in this stillness, you are invited to listen to something older than memory, older than history, older even than the first stars. It is not spoken in words, but in patterns, rhythms, and letters written into every living being. You carry it, quietly, within each of your trillions of cells. And as astonishing as that may feel, you are not alone. Your body is a vast library, each cell holding a script written in the same alphabet that hums through the veins of every creature you have ever known, and countless more you will never meet. A single code, built of 4 small letters, adenine, thymine, cytosine, guanine. A, T, C, G, simple shapes of chemistry, but together, they compose symphonies of astonishing diversity. The oak tree stretching upward in patient silence, the whale singing beneath waves, the hummingbird vibrating with color, all of them share this code with you. You might pause here, feeling the weight of that truth. You are not an isolated miracle, but a verse in an endless poem. Your story is woven into the same tapestry as moss on stone, as dragonflies in summer air, as bacteria flourishing unseen in the soil. Each of these lives is different in form and rhythm, but the foundation is the same. 4 letters, endless combinations. A hymn of life sung in variations. Consider a forest. Walk there in your imagination now. You hear leaves stirring in the air, roots threading unseen beneath the ground, fungi passing signals like whispered messages. Birds call, insects buzz, and in every sound, in every leaf, in every flutter, the same code runs silently, tirelessly. The forest is a cathedral of DNA, every living piece reciting its own line of the shared scripture. You breathe in, and even your breath is an exchange with this choir, the oxygen made by the trees, the carbon dioxide you return to them. Life giving and taking, endlessly. The kinship is not only poetic, it is literal. Your cells share ancestry with the simplest bacterium. Far back, unimaginably far, the tree of life branched and diverged, and yet the trunk remains. Somewhere in that ancient root, one cell, one spark, began to replicate, to preserve and pass along this language. And now here you are, carrying its message. Every step you take is an echo of a billion-year-old decision, to live, to endure, to persist through time. Imagine looking at a whale gliding through deep water. Its body is vast, powerful, and yet its blueprint is written with the same ink as yours. The whale's heart, beating in the slow rhythm of the deep, follows instructions written in the same alphabet. Or look at a songbird perched on a wire, its small chest fluttering with rapid breath, different tempo, same script. In their differences you see beauty, but in their sameness you find belonging. Perhaps you glance at your own hands. The shape of your fingers, the pattern of your nails, the healing of a cut, all of it is written down, letter by letter. Your cells are storytellers, copying this ancient manuscript again and again, so that you may continue to exist. And though your life is unique, the letters themselves are not. They are borrowed, shared, recycled endlessly. You inherit them from ancestors, and you pass them forward, a thread unbroken. Even plants, silent and rooted, sing this hymn. In their leaves, the green pigment chlorophyll captures sunlight, turning photons into food. But behind that process lies the same genetic alphabet. To look at an oak tree is to see kinship disguised in bark and leaf. Its growth rings mark years as your skin carries scars, but beneath both lies DNA, the shared text of being alive. This thought may soften something inside you. Often, we humans stand apart in our imagination, seeing ourselves as separate from nature, from animals, from the wider world. But here is a truth gentler and deeper: separation is illusion. You are not outside the story, you are written into it. To be alive is to be part of the choir. Even in your smallest moments, your heartbeat, your breath, the repair of a single cell, you are participating in the same ancient hymn as the forest, the ocean, the sky alive with wings. Close your eyes for a moment. Picture the letters A, T, C, G drifting like tiny lanterns across the dark. Watch them weave together into strands, spiraling, twisting, forming the double helix. Each turn of that helix is both a memory and a promise, the memory of life that came before you, the promise of life that will continue after. You are a single verse, yes, but without verses, the song would not exist. Science sometimes feels like cold numbers, but here it glows warm. The fact that every creature speaks the same genetic language is not only data, it is intimacy. The robin you hear in spring does not sing alone, its voice rests on a foundation identical to yours. The cat curled at your feet carries in its cells a message written in the same alphabet. Even the bacteria in your gut, often unnoticed, are kin, distant, yes, but family nonetheless. It is humbling to see yourself this way. Humbling, and perhaps comforting. For when loneliness brushes against you, you may remember, never are you truly alone. You are connected by invisible threads to everything that breathes, everything that grows, everything that swims or flies. The code is not yours alone, it belongs to all. And in belonging, you find rest. Picture now the great expanse of earth, jungles alive with insects, deserts where cactus stand in quiet defiance, polar seas where plankton drift beneath ice. Each corner of this planet hums with DNA, an endless chorus of life arranged in countless harmonies. You are part of that symphony. Your heartbeat is one drum among millions. Your breath is one instrument among countless others. Together, without rehearsal, without conductor, the hymn rises. And it does not stop here. The same code whispers across time. You hold it because others held it before you, shaping it, passing it along. Someday, it will pass through you, into future generations, into branches of life you will never see. Like a message in a bottle, cast into the sea of time, it will travel beyond your reach. Yet your part remains, inscribed in the present. Let your imagination wander further, past Earth itself. If life exists elsewhere, on distant worlds orbiting distant suns, it may speak in a different language, or perhaps, astonishingly, in one that echoes our own. The possibility is both mystery and invitation. For now, what you know is this: here on Earth, you belong. Here, your code is kinship. Here, your song is heard. And so, in the quiet of this evening, you rest. Not apart, not alone, but within. Within the oak and the whale, the bird and the moss, the bacteria and the blossom. You rest in the single truth that life, in all its forms, sings together. 4 letters, infinite songs. Your body softens, your breath deepens, as you yield to this realization: you are not solitary. You are a chord in the shared hymn of life, a harmony in an endless choir. And in that choir, you are home.